back. We're talking about networking groups today. And no matter who you are, whatever industry you're in, whatever business you do, you need to be out there selling your business. You need to be out there shaking hands and kissing babies like a politician. And a lot of people don't do that, or they don't do it correctly. And we talked about some of those challenges in the previous videos, but we're gonna talk a little bit more about it today. And let's backtrack for a second. There are two types of networking that you can do. You can go to a networking event, which is a once a month, maybe twice a month, but mostly once a month, big event held at a location like a hotel or a ballroom or some big space. You pay a small fee, and the idea is that you walk around the room and mingle and talk to people. And we'll talk about that in the next video. There's a lot that goes into that, and a lot that also needs to be talked about with expectations and that kind of thing. And then there's networking groups. And for those of you who don't know, and I'm going to assume that you don't know, a networking group is a group of local business owners that meet on a regular basis, every Monday, every Wednesday, every Thursday, whatever that schedule is. And they meet for the express purpose of exchanging business with each other. All right. And typically it's local small businesses or local businesses that can work together. The idea of a group is it's exclusive. You join a specific chapter of the group, and in turn you have an exclusive seat at the table. And what that means is that if you are, and we'll just use my example, when I was a graphic designer, I would join a group and I would be the only graphic designer that was allowed in the group. I was the only person in the group that was doing graphic design. Now, that means that anybody that comes and tries to join the chapter, they won't necessarily be turned away. They'll probably be guided to a chapter that doesn't have a graphic designer or plumber or a financial planner or real estate agent, something like that. All right. That doesn't mean that if you go to your chapter, visit a chapter, and they say, you know, we already have that category filled, that you can't join the group. You just can't join that chapter. And we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in a few minutes. The other thing about it is that there is some subtlety in that exclusivity, okay? And by that I mean, when I joined a chapter as a graphic designer, I couldn't talk about web design, I couldn't talk about marketing, I couldn't talk about printing, okay? Even though that my rate base was included in the flat fee, included printing on almost every occasion, I couldn't express that to the group. I had to just simply sell my design skills because there was a printer in the group, okay? And by my selling my services as saying, okay, well, you know, printing is included, then I was undercutting the printer. So the idea is that I would have a client, I would get the client, and then I would say, you know what, I know somebody in my networking group who does really great printing. I'm going to send the file over there. They'll contact you about the fees and the costs, et cetera, et cetera. That's the way it's supposed to work. And same thing with any other industry. So for example, there was one group that I was involved in where there was an auto repair shop that partnered up with an auto body shop. And so the idea was that if somebody had a car accident, they would not only need body repair in most cases, they would also need mechanical work. And so it was a great way to share business, okay? And the term for that is power partners. And we'll talk about that in a later video about really what is power partners and how to use them to your advantage. And power partners can be an amazing thing. Power partners can really work and get you where you need to go and help you grow your business. But however, if your part of your business is, and we'll go back to the designer aspect of it. If, you know, most graphic designers, they do other things. They do web design, they may offer printing and things. So you can't talk about those things, and therefore it might feel stifling to the person, okay? In those cases, what you need to do is work with that power partner and kind of say, hey, these are the rates that I have, these are the rates that I offer. Can you match, in your printing costs, can you match what I'm giving to somebody so that I can start using your services? And if they can't, then that's fine. The challenge is if somebody in the group refers a design client to you, you can't then say, well, I can get you a cheaper rate through my printer, as opposed to bill the printer that's part of the group. You're going to have to send, if a chapter member sends you a referral for business and your power partner is part of that referral, in other words, you're going to have to get something printed, you're going to have to use the printer, okay? Which means that it's got to stay all within the chapter. That's the downside of it. That's one of the challenges that comes up that people tend to not be really excited about, okay? We'll talk about that in a little greater detail when we talk about power partners and one-on-ones and how to start talking about your business to the chapter. Now, the more complicated issues that come up, and we've talked about this in other videos, is twofold. It can be a little bit pricey, depending on the networking group that you're working with and the fees of the chapter. So when you join a group, there are group fees, overhead fees from the corporate group that's running things, and then there's also local chapter fees, okay, that go to things like paying for your meal while you're there, materials, events and things, further education. One of the chapters I used to belong to, we were a very small chapter and we had a lot of extra money sometimes, so we would hold we'd go do like paintings or things, or we would go do events where we could all kind of bond together and get to know each other a little bit more outside of that hour of meeting every week. What you're paying for is access to information, seat at the table, and connections with other people. Now, the thing that you need to remember about networking groups and networking in general is you are not speaking to the person in front of you, you are trying to speak to the people that they know. In other words, Bill the Printer is a vehicle for me to find more super fans and casual fans that I can talk to, okay? I'm not looking to sell Bill, I'm not looking to have Bill sell me, I'm looking to have Bill introduce me to people that he knows that will like the experience that I'm offering, that will be super fans or at least casual consumers, okay? Referrals can be a very difficult thing because you have to teach your chapter your experience, what your super fan looks like, what your casual consumer looks like, how to talk to them, how to talk about your experience. You need to spend some time educating them. And that's what the 30-second commercial's for, and we'll talk about that in a separate video. You will also be required to meet with chapter members outside of meetings and sit down and call one-on-ones or coaching sessions or whatever they're called, and that's your time to speak one-to-one to other chapter members about your experience, who your super fans are, what you're looking for, all of those things. Additionally to that, you will also have a chance to do a presentation, typically around 10 minutes or so, probably depending on the size of your chapter, every 30, maybe every 60 days. 60 days to be safe, depending on a mid-sized chapter. From there, that's another great opportunity to teach about your experience. Teach who your super fan is. Teach about your products and services. Teach them how to talk about you. Again, gearing it towards speaking not to the people in front of you, but the people that they know, all right? Because you want them to leave that meeting, leave that chapter session, and go out and be on the lookout for you, for people that match exactly what you do and how you do it. And the problem that comes up is, again, it's a very typical one, is people join a chapter, they join a group, and they think every problem is suddenly solved, and it's not, all right? If you're gonna pay all of that kind of money, you need to put into it, right? And I think I used the analogy in the last video. You can't have a gym bod if you don't go to the gym. And you can't complain that you don't have the gym bod if you don't get the gym. And typically what happens are people join a group, and this also feeds into expectations, is they join the group and they think, okay, well, in 3 months, I'm gonna be rolling in business. I'm gonna be on easy street. I'm gonna have all the business that I need. And that doesn't really happen. And the reason for that is because they haven't educated their chapter on who they are, what the experience is, why they are unique, and get them to start looking for other people, because your chapter really can be an unpaid sales force, your unpaid marketing team. They can really be out there looking for you and connecting with the people who are right for your experience. And again, it's about you training them. So in your 30-second commercial, when you get there early, talk to them. Stay late and talk to a couple of people. Make sure you do a number of one-on-ones and coaching sessions. There are ample opportunities for you to talk about your experience. And in the past, when I've been involved with chapters in various capacities, from president, I've always been somehow on the board of the chapters for some reason. But whenever someone has an issue or is going to leave the chapter, it's because the number one reason is I'm not getting the amount of business that I thought I was getting. And then when I would ask them, so what was it you think you were going to get? Like, describe this to me in a little bit more detail. It's kind of vague. What were you looking to get? What were you hoping to get? Why are you thinking that this isn't working for you? And typically, number one thing is they expected to get an immediate return on investment. So they expected, if they were paying and I'm going to say in conservative side, because the last groups I worked on was very affordable. They were about $300 a year annually. And I think we paid $60 a month or something like that. They expect that, okay, well, at the end of the month, I'm going to have at least $100 in sales, if not more, to cover the expense that I've put out. And I expect within 3 months to be making more than the $300 that I put out. And that is possible. But again, the onus is on you. The onus is on you to teach them and to educate them and really get them to sort of motivate them and activate them to be that sales force that you need. If you don't do it, nobody's gonna. And you can't complain if you're not willing to put in the work. I think a lot of people show up to a group or chapter and they think, well, if I show up, just my being there is going to have the business flow, and it doesn't. I've been with, like I said, like a number of chapters, and if you're an auto mechanic, tell me more about it. Like, what kind of cars do you work on? Do you work on foreign? Do you work on, I had a Mini Cooper at one point, and I remember talking to one of the mechanics, and he said, oh, I'm an auto mechanic. And I said, oh, well, I'll bring my Mini Cooper in. And he said, oh, we don't work on Mini Coopers. Okay, that's something I needed to know. So I can refer you, right? Like, I need to know that you don't do certain types of cars so that I don't send you a referral. And what happens in those situations is, and let's use the auto mechanic. We'll use the Mini Cooper example. Person didn't explain it to me. Say, I have a Mini Cooper, so I know people that had Mini Coopers. I say to them, hey, I've got this great mechanic in my chapter. Give him a shot and see what happens. The person goes over there. They make an appointment. They show up, and then Bill, the mechanic, is like, oh, we don't do Mini Coopers. Sorry. So now you've got Bill annoyed because Bill had to turn away somebody. Your customer, your referral, is annoyed because they've taken time and effort and energy to get there and do it, and now their car still is unrepaired, and they don't know where to turn to next. And now you're kind of looking like the idiot, like, okay, well, I told you to go here, and I thought. And that's typically the chain that happens. And so a lot of times with networking groups, I found that there were a lot of bad referrals because people didn't understand what that person did, because that person never really explained it to anybody in a way that really says, this is exactly what I do. I don't want to talk to anybody that has Mini Coopers. And remember, this is your unpaid sales and marketing team, and you need to treat them as such, okay? So I'm not saying you go in and you shotgun run the meetings, but you're very clear on, okay, if these were employees and these were staff, you wouldn't just kind of like show up to work and say, okay, hey, good, like, hey, happy fun marketing, get out there, get me some more business. You would have to train them, you would have to teach them, you would have to keep on top of them and say, hey, how do you need more things from me? What do you need from me to help you do your job better? What do you need from me to make it clear? How can I help you be a more effective voice for me, delegate for me, a representative for me? What am I not giving you that you need? You just can't show up to the meetings and expect the business to come flowing in. It just doesn't work that way. The other side of it too, and we've talked about this in the other videos, is the other number one reason that other people have left after a couple of weeks or a couple of months at a chapter, or they don't renew, is again, they're not getting the referrals that they want. They're not getting the referrals that they need. They thought they were going to get. However, they never show up. Maybe once a month they show up. Maybe once every 2 months they show up. And depending on the group and the chapter, they're pretty rigid on some of that. So those people may be weeded out through the process. But I've been in many groups where that wasn't the case, because the chapter president was like, well, we don't want the numbers to fall, so if I kick them out, then we're going to have less people, etc., etc. And that's a somewhat understandable issue, but it is not the one that you should be hanging your hat on, or as a friend of mine used to say, a hill to die on. It's not helping the chapter, it's not helping you, and it's certainly not helping them. Okay, it gets back to the sort of idea that I'm always espousing of you're representing your business, how you conduct yourself in person, the things that you say, the way that you present yourself, the way that you act at meetings. If you show up late, you leave early, you miss things, that sends subtle messages to everybody in the chapter of who you are and what you do. Why should I send people who I really care about, who are my clients, maybe our friends and family, to someone that doesn't show up to meetings, shows up late, leaves early, doesn't seem to really put in the effort or care, but really just wants to take, and not give. And I forget which group it is, but one of them has a really great phrasing and saying that says, givers gain. And that's true. In order to get something, you need to give something. Conversely, the other side of it is sometimes with some of the chapters, you will find that there are people that keep track of things. And by that I mean members. There are actually people on the board that will keep track of things. But I've worked with some groups where a person is like, I'm not giving Kim any more referrals because I've given Kim 2 referrals this month and she hasn't given me any, so she owes me 2, and then when we get to 3, then I'll start giving her another referral. That's also not the way to work it. That's also not the way to ingrain yourself with the chapter. And there are a number of reasons for that. Number one being, there were some chapters that I joined that were not within 5 miles of my house. One chapter I had to drive to, it was about 20 miles away. There were some businesses that were local to that chapter, a dry cleaner, an auto mechanic, an eye doctor, those types of things that were very local to that chapter. But I couldn't refer to, because I'm not going to send somebody 20 miles down the street to go to a dry cleaner when there's like 15 of them in my neighborhood, right? So it becomes an issue of, sometimes it's not that I don't want to refer to you, or that I just can't refer to you. Who am I going to send to you? Because in order for somebody to drive 20 miles to come for your dry cleaning, your eye doctor, your eye exam, your auto repair, I need to give them solid reasons why they need to go out of their way, why they need to come all the way this way to come to you, as opposed to how many businesses between here and there. All right. And so when you play those games of, well, I can't, I'm not giving Kim 3 because maybe Kim doesn't know anybody that needs an eye exam right now. Maybe Kim doesn't know anybody that needs auto repair. Like, there's a lot of other factors going on outside of the things. And one of the things I think you need to do when you're in the chapter is not make assumptions about what's going on behind the scenes. Okay, so in this case, if Kim wasn't giving you enough referrals, or Kim wasn't giving you an equal amount of referrals, we'll just say equal amount of referrals, your responsibility as a mature business owner is to sit down with Kim and say, hey, what's going on? I keep giving you referrals, I'm not getting anything back. What can I do to help you sell me? Are there challenges that you're facing in referring to me that I haven't addressed? Is there challenges in getting people to come to me that I need to help you with? You just can't expect that Kim is going to run out and just start referring you. There are other things that are going on. For example, like if there was one where it was like a daycare, I don't know anybody with kids, so who am I going to refer to? Don't know anybody that has kids and needs daycare, so I can't refer anybody to you. I had joined another chapter at one point where it was all financial planners, estate lawyers, high-end lawyers, accident lawyers, and those kinds of things. And I couldn't refer to anybody in the chapter. And I left after 6 months because I knew it wasn't a fit for me, because I couldn't contribute to the chapter in the way that I needed to. There were not a lot of people that I knew that were looking to plan, do estate planning. I don't know a lot of people that get into accidents, so I couldn't really refer to the lawyer. I didn't know people that were doing high-end corporate work that needed a corporate lawyer, so I couldn't refer to them, and therefore I felt like I wasn't an active part of the chapter. So I felt that as a responsible business owner, I needed to leave and open up that slot for somebody that could. Okay? There's a lot that we can talk about with networking groups, and we probably talk about them some more in some future videos. But that is a very brief overview, a very brief kind of understanding. There's a lot of subtlety that can go into it in networking groups and chapters that can't really get into in 20 minutes, but we'll get into it in future videos. So I'd love to hear your thoughts, your comments, your experiences with networking groups, the good and the bad. Leave them in the comments below, and let's start a conversation and kind of get a dialogue going so that we can kind of help other people really understand what networking groups are. If you're watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe below. We got new content coming out on a regular basis. As we're moving further into 2021, we're ramping up and getting a lot of video content out over the next couple of weeks, so make sure you like and subscribe. Follow me on social media. I'm literally E.H. Howard everywhere under the sun. Like and subscribe to the Facebook page. We're doing some exclusive Facebook content there. Trying to build a community of other small businesses so we can get a sort of community of like-minded individuals together that can kind of help each other grow and support and get things going. If you want to learn more about me, selling the experience, or finding your Betty, you can visit ehhoward.com 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. We're even open on Sundays, and learn more about me and the whole sell the experience idea and finding your Betty. And while you're there, make sure you join the mailing list. We're going to be doing some great stuff in the coming months. Some workshops are coming up, some podcast collaborations that we're going to be working on, and some other great content. Other than that, I will see you in the next video. All right, bye.